Man, still watching that video always gets me pumped. Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to another special episode of Death, Taxes, and Sports, episode 91. We are bringing you the state of New York sports. I'm here with my good friend E-Man from Average Joe Sports Talk. Sir, how are you doing today?
Absolutely magnificent. I concur with you 100%. You watch that intro, nothing but hypeness, man. You got some stuff that really fired my blood up, and I'm ready, man. Thanks for having me. I
And
appreciate it.
no doubt, no doubt. As we're talking before the show, Gary Johnson, our other co-host, will be coming on here in a second. He'll be waking up from his nap. Um, but like I was saying on the episode prior to starting, we were talking in the studio, in the green room, the virtual green room. We did a state of Arizona sports, and I was like, let's keep the conversation going. We'll cover all the different major markets as well as the state of all the different sports. And I was like, New York, and I was like, I got to bring the New York legend himself, E-Man, and then Gary also being a New Yorker, we got to get this conversation going. But sir, how are things going with your show, man? What you got? What you got cooking?
Good, man. The NBA final just kind of, finished, and that's where a lot of the bulk happens. Now it's time to really get involved into baseball and other stuff around. So, I like to do my instant reactions right after the NBA finals each game. That was my last
Mhm.
episode. I'm taking a break from my weekly live, but we just got to keep it moving, man. Trying to see if I get some guests. I want to definitely have you on so we could talk some sports also as well. And this summer is more about now getting ready for football and diving into baseball and anything else that pops up trending.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So, question: Did the Nuggets? Did the Nuggets? Oh, Gary Legend, sir, how you doing?
Gentlemen, how are you?
How you doing, Gary?
Good,
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 good.
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 Awesome. But before we get to the New York, like, what were your thoughts in the finals, real quick, you man? Just kind of curious your thoughts, buddy.
It's funny. Remember, I was here about right before the playoffs started, join you guys, and we all were talking about how none of us believed in the Nuggets, the
Right.
Grizzlies and stuff like that. And you know what? I guess we were wrong, right? But I got a reason why we did not trust the Nuggets, right? Because if you think about it, right, the only people that trusted the Nuggets were the local market area fans that saw this team play every single day. As you saw him play them, how many times did you watch him play on TNT or ESPN throughout the whole year in Thursday night or Wednesday night basketball? Never. You saw him. I think I saw him like once or twice, and I probably turned off the TV. Right. Uh,
Right.
but this watching them in the playoffs, you got to see what that part of the country saw in that team. Pretty damn good basketball team.
Yeah,
Jokic and
no
Murray
doubt.
are two ballers. And
Yeah, yeah,
props for
man.
props are due, man. You got to give props
Oh
for
yeah,
credit is due.
no doubt, no doubt. I know Gary, you and I, man, we talked about in the last episode. We're talking about it. Like, I think it's safe to say that they surprised a lot of people because you were wondering when are the Nuggets going to be the Nuggets because they
Mhm.
haven't really given us a lot of confidence that they were going to be able to show up in crunch time, and I think they surprised everybody, Gary.
Absolutely.
But with them, it's a lot of like, if not now, when? Because let's be honest, a lot of us haven't seen it, but they weren't the number one seed in the West by accident. Like they've been in that spot or near that spot for the last 4 years, and they've been slowly building this. We talked about it before, Jeff. They were in the bubble, they got to the conference finals, but they weren't ready yet. Jokic was still he was on the way, but he wasn't where he needed to be. Then he gets to where he needs to be. He loses Jamal Murray, and
Hmm.
also he didn't have Michael Porter Jr. in
Hmm.
2020 at that point. So and then he loses Jamal Murray, but gets Porter Jr. back. So they're still like not there yet. And we said, let them have a healthy roster. Watch what happens.
You
Well,
know,
what
Yeah.
happens? This is
it,
what we said was going to happen.
even I almost feel like everything went right for them because everyone was healthy.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like, we don't see that. Like, it's just everything went right for them and they won at the key moments. You don't see that too often.
Yeah,
But
it's like anything with sports, right? The team they like, and to echo on Gary's point, they added the pieces to this team from the bubble. The bubble. I think they won one game, or I don't know, they got swept by the Lakers. That's so long ago, I forgot. Regardless of that, every year, they lost Jamal, but every year they kept improving, regardless of Jamal's injury. When Jamal comes back, you notice that they added Aaron Gordon this year, KCP. I mean, these are all role players that you're surrounding against your two superstars. Everybody knew that the two cornerstones it's Jokic and Jamal. And again, the drafting of Michael MPJ, Michael Porter Jr. It was great. So they just keep adding all these pieces. Bruce Brown. I mean, when you look at a team, one of the things I said in my first preview episode, not to keep running this long, it's like it's going to be the team, right? The superstars, of course, step up like any NBA Finals, right? However, whichever supporting cast role players have the better series is going to be the team that's going to win. And everybody for the Nuggets, Aaron Gordon had a insane series. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and they were
no
just
doubt.
a better prepared team. They had the more talented, they had the better pieces, supporting cast, and the two better superstars.
No doubt. It was a good run. Good run. So, as we get to this New York, I want to throw each of you a question. I want you to picture that you are the governor of New York sports, if there was such a thing. And each year you have to give a State of the Union on the state of the sports. In one word, the state of New York sports is blank. E-Man, you first, and then go to Gary. What is one word?
Uh unachieving, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Why unachieving?
Yankees always have a loaded roster. So will the Mets. We fall short every year, right? Again, the Knicks every year we're doing better, right? But again, it's you look at that team, and every time you go a step forward, I don't know what next season we go 2 steps backwards. I don't know what's going to happen this season. I'm hoping that it's the opposite, right? Rangers were supposed to, and I don't do hockey at all, but they were supposed to be the team this year. Got kicked out when they shouldn't. Giants are again looking up, but I don't think we did enough to improve over the season. So we're kind of unachieving, right?
Okay.
The Jets, they're like the Mets. All right. We're gonna have all the bells and whistles, but probably they're gonna self-destruct throughout the season. So I guess it's a kind of achieving. We go in hard and we look good on paper, and then all of a sudden we just let our fans down. That's what
Okay.
I'm thinking. It's not like the
Hey.
good old days where the Yankees you knew they were gonna win and they won.
Right.
And the Knicks is gonna be in the
Facts.
conference finals, that kind of stuff. Back in the 90s.
Okay. All right. I'm with that, Gary. State of New York sports is blank.
You said one word, right?
One
It's
word.
hard, man.
Unknown.
Okay.
I mean, like I'm there's a lot, like Eman just said, like there's cautious optimism when you look at the Knicks, for example. They took a step forward that they needed to. You look at the Yankees, they've been there. Like we can, as we're spoiled New York sports fans, like just as a whole, we're just genuinely spoiled, especially Yankee fans.
Mhm.
We're spoiled brats. Let's be very clear about this. Like we're over here pouting and kicking, and being blasé about the Yankees, like, oh, they're not doing well. This is a team that for the last 30 years has produced a winning record. In the last 5 years, they've won at least 95 games.
Mhm.
Now, obviously, exclude 2020 from that, but like, this is a team that, in any other metric, is as good as it gets in baseball. But there's no championship in 13 years.
You got 5 and 30, right? In the previous 17, right? And so it's like you expect it.
My childhood was nothing but Yankees World Series and ticker tape parades down the Canyon of Heroes. That's what I'm accustomed to. So to go this far and have to try to explain to my children that yes, the Yankees once were champions, I didn't think I'd have to live to see this day so soon. But yet here I am, 35 years old, and trying to explain, yes, no, the Yankees are actually good, and it's just there's a roadblock in Houston for some reason. I don't know why.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to say and we'll talk about the Yankees, but I'll save my thoughts on that. If I have to give the state of the state on New York sports, holistically, futuristic in the sense that you look at the New York Liberty, for instance, there's some optimism for the future, getting Breanna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu. There's futuristic optimism for the Rangers still. They just hired a new coach. The Yankees with Aaron Judge, as long as you have Aaron Judge, you have Garrett Cole, they're still going to be a promising future. The Mets, well, they're just going to keep spending money, and maybe they get it together. They're 1-9 in their last 10 games. We don't know what the future is going to hold for the Jets. Their future is going to be intriguing. And then you look at your Giants, well, futuristic. That's what I'm saying, futuristic. There's cautious optimism. Can we all just say there's cautious optimism
Absolutely.
for the state of New York sports?
Absolutely.
Exactly. You're absolutely right in that sense. Like, you look across the board, there's no longer this doom and gloom in every single sport.
Right.
We're looking at it and go, okay, there might be traction here. You know, I know we're going to talk about the Jets and everything that they did in this offseason. And it's like, you know, this is the first time we're talking about the Jets and it not being
Yeah.
the punchline.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
There is a possibility of actual postseason football for Gang Green. Like, there's,
I mean, the soccer team just won a championship.
right.
You know,
Now, now it's obviously a growing sport, but in the hierarchy of New York,
Yeah.
it's like, yes, I know that they just won the championship. It's like, I know about it because it happened to be on the cover of the Daily News the day I happened to look at it at the newsstand as I was walking by.
He's not wrong.
No disrespect. I have no respect for soccer players. Like, that's one sport that I would never play, but I've always been a fan of. But when you look at, as a New Yorker, you know what it is. It's depending on the order: basketball, football, baseball, hockey. That's it.
But E-Man, New York is a sports town. I'm just saying, across the board, if you put it on a piece of paper and you put up all the teams, there's not one single team that doesn't have some type of direction or some type of path for the future. Like, every single team. And I think this is the first time, and just there's some type of direction. Now, whether if it's going to be championships, the Giants are not a laughingstock based on what they did last year. The Jets aren't going to be a laughingstock because they have Aaron Rodgers. Now, whether they make it to the playoffs, we'll see. But, E-Man, first team, New York Knicks.
All right, let's talk some Knicks basketball.
What is the state of the New York Knicks specifically?
Look, Knicks had probably their second best season, in the last 10 years? The last time we made it to the second round was the Melo Knicks.
Listen, this was their best season in
20 years.
No, say 23 years.
Yeah. Since 99, when we made it to the NBA Finals, right, as the 8th seed. The same thing Miami just did. And, ironically, we lost to probably one of the greatest centers in the game, or power forwards, and Tim Duncan as a rookie. So it's like going back that far. Look, great year. We made it to the second round. We beat a pretty darn good Cleveland Cavaliers team. Jalen Brunson, which I'm one of the first to admit it, I was wrong about the guy. I thought we overpaid for a backup point guard. You know what? Hey, that's why I don't get paid for this, right? This dude came out here, and I knew he was a good player in Dallas because you saw a lot of Dallas in the playoffs, right? You saw what he did in the second unit. You saw when Luka went down. I didn't think he was going to come here and average almost 24 points a game and then do what he did in the playoffs. That's where I really gained most of his respect, because he was the guy why we won one game. I mean, Julius Randle disappeared. R.J. Barrett, for the most part, was up and down, and then the rest is history, right? So that's good. We got to build on from there. And that's usually what happens. A year we made it to the playoffs and we lost in the first round against the Hawks. What happened the year after that? We completely went backwards. So I think one of the things that the Knicks needs to do this year, we just need to keep improving. And one of the ways that we do that is we got some free agent signings. We also we still don't have that championship status player, man, that's going to take us and elevate us to a championship contention or, NBA final status, because same team, we're in the same boat next year. Maybe we make it to the second round. We finish the 5th seed. Nobody's beating Boston or the 76ers or the Bucks.
Okay, Gary, after your thoughts, I'm going to throw a trade proposal out there, and I think you guys know what's going to be coming next. But any other thoughts? Man, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay, Gary?
So I want to preface everything that I'm about to say, E-Man, by letting everybody know I'm a diehard Lakers fan, despite being from New York. I respect the Knicks, but I've also been paying attention to this story most of my life. So it's like
I know.
there was a reason why. I'm looking at the poster on the background, like behind you, and I'm like, yeah, that was my childhood. Kobe, Jordan, like that. That was where that was my upbringing. Saying that, I love everything that the Knicks did this season in terms of allowing Jalen Brunson to truly run at point guard and be that leader that they needed. You know, we've talked ad nauseum on the show about Julius Randle and like what you're getting from him or the lack thereof. And I've said it repeatedly. If Julius Randle was meant to be a franchise player, he'd still be a Laker.
Mhm.
Let's be very clear. Like
Mhm.
that was his franchise to have after Kobe retired. He goes to New Orleans. He ends up in New York, and I will listen. He was an all-star. He put up the numbers. Like I'm not going to discredit him, but you know what the ceiling is with him. This doesn't seem like this is going to be one of these things that changes with him. You're going to get a great regular. Some players are just great regular season players, and Julius Randle is a great regular season player. But there are some people, and I've said, Jeff, you know what the phrase I'm about to use? They are allergic to springtime. They're allergic to playing basketball in the spring, and for some reason, Julius has had allergies. Has been catching people for years, left and right. James Harden, a habitual case.
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know how it's not terminal with him, but that's with them. I look at that team and I'm going in the East. There has to be somebody like Brooklyn's going to be the team that's the odd man out for next season. I think we can all come to agreement with that. Like they're going to be the team out of the 8 that made the playoffs this season. The Knicks have to remain in that mix, and I'm looking at, I was trying to do a quick rundown of who would probably make the playoffs next season. You got your Boston's,
Mhm.
Boston, Cleveland, Miami,
Mhm.
most likely Milwaukee, Philadelphia. Then you have to kind of throw the Knicks in there because you don't know what you're getting out of Toronto, you don't know what you're getting out of Washington, you don't really know what you're getting out of Atlanta or any of these other teams, and like they have to remain in that 6 and they have to take that next step. I think that 3-4 seed can be for the taking if they can add one more piece, and I know Jeff, you're going to discuss that in the trade, so I'm gonna let you go ahead.
So if I'm the Knicks, right, they got to get a superstar. This is a team of just good average players. Jalen Brunson is a good point guard, but he cannot be your second best player. That's just what it is. Do you go after a Damian Lillard or do you go after a Bradley Beal? And if you do, what would a potential trade package look like? E-Man, you first.
Well, the Knicks do have, and I'm going to go Dame Lillard here. I'm going to go for the
Okay.
biggest dog in the yard, right?
Okay.
I like Bradley Beal, right? I know we have a good point guard. We have an all-star type of point guard. What he did in the playoffs is great. But Dame is Dame, all right? He is what you want in your team because he's shown it with with understaffed team, pretty much. He could take over games in the postseason. The man can do everything. He could score. He's 32 years old. That's the only risk, but you still got maybe 3 years left of really, really high-end basketball, MVP type of caliber basketball because the dude's hungry. I go for Dame. So let's use Dame in this mix,
Okay.
regardless of having Brunson. We have assets, all right? We have first-round picks that we could move at any time in the next 6 years. We got young players with really good contracts that are eventually going to age out with quickly. Obi Toppin, Quentin Grimes, right? Typically, we may have to move a superstar, right, along the mix. That's where Randall, or even in exchange, Brunson would go if we go after Lillard. So it depends on the player. RJ Barrett is up for sale too. So we have the combination of picks for the next that we have available for the next 10 years, the trades with Dallas, the other stuff that we did. And also we have the young expiring contracts and players can contribute right now. Quickly, Grimes, those guys that I just mentioned, Toppin. And then, of course, you got some good contracts that are still good in the books. Because remember, it's all about money as well. They want to get, when you want to trade your best player and one of the best players in the team, you want to get back contracts that are good for the books, players that can still play a little bit, and in exchange, somebody that can do that. And then, of course, draft picks so I can replace Dame. And the Knicks check the box on every single one of them. 4 years ago, I would have told you no, right? But now we do have And look, and Jalen's contract is so good. And if he keeps putting 24 points a game in a season, he's going to attract any team that wants to rebuild because he's still cheap and he's a hell of a player. So that's why, I mean, I would go for Dame. Dame doesn't work, you go for Lillard. And Lillard, most likely, you won't give up Jalen Brunson. You'll probably give up a Julius Randle, which my tag on him is he's built for the regular season and not the postseason. That's who he's built for. And practically, I think that's where you go. Depends on which player you're going after.
Okay. I say 3 first rounders. Maybe 2 protected or unprotected. Julius Randle's probably going to be in that trade. Obi Toppin, who I think can be a really good player if he actually gets some burn, Gary. I say 3 first-round picks, Obi Toppin, maybe Julius Randle, Emmanuel Quickly, like some type of.
There's a lot of combinations.
Oh yeah, easily.
A lot of combinations. They have the assets. That's the first thing. When you have the assets, bro, at this point is okay. Let's see what they want, what we're willing to give up, and then they have the combination of athletes. We got young good contracts, rookie contracts, and then also like really good players on the really not expensive contracts and all the picks. So
facts. Gary, your thoughts?
Of the 2 forwards, because they're going to have to keep Obi or Randle. They're not going to give up both in a trade unless you're going to get a decent enough forward in whatever trade you get. And I'm looking at Portland's roster. I'm like, Jeremy Grant's not moving the needle for me. So one's got to stay. And of the 2, I would lean towards Obi staying and Randle going just because Randle is a more established star. And frankly, like I said, even though he's allergic to the postseason, he plays every day. And he wants to play. He wants to give you 82 a season. Like, I know he hurt his ankle to end the season, but he was well on his way to that. And with Obi, he showed, he put up double-digit points. He was putting up double figures.
Did well when he was out, yep.
Right, when Randle was out. So he showed, like, listen, I don't need to be putting up 25 a night, but I'm capable to give you like 16 and 8 and hit threes. And his handle is a little bit better than Julius's. But that's not.
He's more athletic too. He can run the court,
and he's younger. And I think and the contract. So you look at all those factors. So I'm like, of those 2, Randle's the likelier of the 2 to go. Now, who does he go for? In that case, it leans towards a Bradley Beal trade over Dame Lillard because you can't as much. I know Jalen Brunson's contract is very, friendly, is cap friendly, is very trade friendly and all that. But on the flip side of that, you're going to be really hard. It's going to be hard to sell making that trade and going, okay, we're trading for the 32-year-old who may have, who does have a few years left. But, we've seen older established superstars come to New York and it fall flat on its face. So I'm still going, you have to go younger. You have to go with the youth. That's why you keep a Jalen Brunson in that situation. And frankly, putting him and Dame Lillard together in your backcourt is two players who both need the ball in their hands at all times, and that's not going to work. So I'm leaning, in this case, towards Bradley Beal, and it's been very clear Beal wants to leave. Lillard's been up and back and forth about this, and while Beal doesn't have has the no trade clause, he wants to go. The writing's on the wall. He's not getting a championship in Washington, so he needs to go.
That contract was good.
Yeah, they'll restructure that. That's gonna be part of the whole trade.
Oh yeah, there's gonna be restructuring, and because everybody's kind of on the wait and see because there's going to be that new TV deal that comes in after. If I know it's not this season, but the season after that. So there's going to be even more money. Right. It's going to go through the roof. So, and side note, NBC is trying to get back in that game. So there's going to be even crazier money. So this is all these moves have to be very smart and very calculated because of that coming down the road.
Facts.
I got one quick last one. Ready? Now, it's not just Bradley Beal and Damian Lillard who are up for chops. Rumors of Trae Young as well, even though that's far-fetched. And the latest one, I don't know if you guys have heard that also, right? And this might happen this season, I don't think it's going to win, but Joel Embiid is not very happy which is stupid, if they don't keep James Harden. I don't know why.
Oh, come on. Oh my God.
There's no way that the Sixers will trade within its own division,
No,
especially
no,
to a rival like the Knicks. So
no.
that's wishful thinking. But I just
Yeah.
want to say real quick, one that's out there that has been discussed, and honestly, I'm not sure because I don't like how his game translates in the playoffs either. Is Paul George?
Yes.
I think again, they're like a George for Randall trade
Mhm.
seems to be like what everybody's tossed out there. It's like I get it, but that one doesn't move the needle. If it's 5 years ago, okay, that moves the needle for me. But George is injured, still
Mhm.
older, a little bit injury prone. So like, if he's not doing it in LA for the Clippers, what makes you think he's going to do it for us here in New York?
No, absolutely.
Yeah, Knicks. They're always going to be a very intriguing team because that fan base is so hungry for a championship.
50 years.
And I mean, it's just been so long. And if
50
I'm the
years.
Knicks, they got to go for it. If Bradley Beal is available, if Damian Lillard is available, they got to do it. Like if not now, then when? You got to do it. So Knicks, GM, whoever you are, if you're watching, doubtful, but if you are, just make the damn move. Just do it. Anyway, Jets, another team that's dying for a championship. As we know, we'll get to Aaron Rodgers, but I just want to put some numbers here.
Mhm.
Points per game, they were 29th. Points against per game, they were 4th. Total yards per game, they were 24th. Yards allowed, they were 3rd. Turnovers per game, they were 17th. And takeaways per game, they were 21st. There was a stat that came out that they went 7-10 last year, I believe, if I'm putting that correctly.
Yeah.
And they had the most one-score losses out of any team in the AFC, I believe, between 5 or 7 losses.
Yeah, something like that.
If they had averaged, they had averaged about 17.4 points per game. If they had averaged, I think, 6 to 7 more points per game, they would have won those games at 7-10. So, Gary, I'm going to throw it to you first, buddy. Is Aaron Rodgers good enough to be able to move the needle based on those numbers?
When the trade went down, I posted, "Congratulations, Jets fans, on a 12-5 season and a loss in the divisional round." So that's what we're looking at with Aaron Rodgers, and I think that yes, I think he'll live up to the hype enough to at least get the Jets into that like island of relevancy, as it were. Like so, 11, 12 wins seems to be about where they're going to be, and you know you have to keep an eye out on Buffalo and the whole thing with Stephon
Mhm.
Diggs and all that. You have to keep an eye out there. The Patriots, I think the sun's set on that franchise. And Miami, I know everybody thinks that Miami's this quiet, sexy pick to go far in the AFC. No,
Tua, baby. He's not reliable health wise, so that's a huge factor.
right? And unless you're going to tell me that Tua is going to have a Jalen Hurts type season this year, coming season, nah. Like they'll be good, but I think they'll be wild card good, where they basically were last season anyway. So, I think for the Jets, this will be like they're finally relevant. They're finally at a point where other teams are jealous and envious of them, and it's a weird feeling. I don't know as a Giants fan if I like it, but whatever. Like, I think hell, this is something that my dad watched in his childhood. My dad's 71 years old, about to be 71. So I'm asking him like, hey, what is this like? I don't it's a little foreign to me. So
Okay. Facts. E-Man?
You know, and I'm going to start with from the bottom to the top, right? I'm going to leave Aaron for last. Garrett Wilson, potential to be top 5 or the number 1 freaking wide receiver in the league. That's how talented this kid is. What he did last year with Joe Flacco, Shaq Milson, all right, and Mike White, he had over 1,100 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns, 83 receptions. Okay, he had a bunch of cab drivers throwing him the ball, and this kid showed how good he is because he had some games. You were like, holy smokes, man, he cannot be guarded, right? Brees Hall in the limited time, all right, before the injury. I mean, this kid is just plain nasty. So you got right now 2 of the best offensive position players right now potentially in the league because Brees Hall last year in 7 games, 80 carries, 4 touchdowns, 463 yards. You saw what he could do But what even impresses me the most, he could also catch the damn football. I think he had like 19 receptions over 3 games, 219 yards and a touchdown. So offensively, we know what they could do with those two guys if they have a good quarterback, and that's where Aaron comes in, right? Good pieces there, and then you go, they brought Adam Lazard and everybody else and their mother. All the regular pieces. We don't have a lot of time to discuss every single one of them. But then you have the defense, right? The defense, top 5 defense in the NFL. I'm a huge Robert Saleh guy because we saw him coaching in San Francisco. The dude get these players going, especially defensive players. I mean, everything is tailor-made to win now for that team. Check all the boxes, right? Great wide receiver, all the role players around. Lazard's going to be there for the safety blanket of Rodgers, right? And everybody else he requested. And then you have a stud running back if he doesn't get hurt. This guy can put up Saquon numbers. Absolutely both ways. He could catch it and he could run it. He's just a power guy. And you have on the defensive side probably the best corner upcoming soon in Sauce Gardner, right? And even Aaron Rodgers said, this is what he said at OTAs, we've got at some point possibly the best corner and the best receiver in the NFL. That's what he thinks about Sauce and Garrett Wilson. And I tend to actually agree with him, regardless of his ego and bigger to life, aura that he has. But at the end of the day, my man, is Super Bowl or bust, right? Tom Brady set it up. Tom Brady set the standard, right? Tom Brady said, I want more support. I want more weapons. I'm going to go get them somewhere else. He did. Won the Super Bowl in his first year. Aaron is in the same freaking boat. Same standards, same scenario. He wanted to leave a team that had played for most of his career, won one Super Bowl, was successful, put some great numbers, 3, 4 MVPs, whatever the case may be. Look, there's no other option. Like you said, hey, 12-5, but a divisional round loss, that's a complete waste of a season.
You see, I look at it based on the schedule as well, right? Because the first game against the Panthers, that's going to be a win.
Mm-hmm.
Buccaneers at home, going to be a win. Jets versus Giants, that's going to be a toss-up. Then they got the Bills, then the Cowboys, Patriots, still a division game. Then the next couple games, they have 3 games they have the Chiefs, the Broncos at Denver, and they got the Eagles. Mm-hmm. That first half, it's that's going to be a gauntlet. That 3-game stretch, I think, is going to be very, very interesting. But then towards the end of the season, they have a little bit more easy. They have some easy games. If they could come out 2-1 in that stretch, they got the first half of their season is going to be very crucial for them. If they could come out 4-4, they got to have a winning record coming out of that. I still see this team as 3rd in the division behind the Dolphins. If Mr. Concussion cannot get concussed, then they have a chance. It's all on that man's forehead. If that man's forehead is right, they're going to be relevant. And especially if they get Dalvin Cook. Something's telling me that Miami's going to get Dalvin Cook. Gary, I feel like you have something to say, sir.
No, I'm just pointing out for Jets fans that are trying to anoint Aaron Rodgers as the savior. Aaron Rodgers, since Super Bowl 45, when he won, obviously he won Super Bowl, has been to the NFC Championship game once. He's missed the playoffs a few times. He's lost in the wild card a few times, lost in the divisional. One NFC Championship game since winning Super Bowl 45. So, while yes, I think he will do better with the Jets this season than he had been doing as of late with the Packers. I know it's Super Bowl or bust, but like Jeff said, there's going to be the AFC East is going to be drama filled this season. Even with the Patriots not being the best team in the AFC East anymore, they're still going to be there and cause a ruckus because that's all Bill Belichick knows how to do is cause ruckus.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think that if they're going to win this, like you mentioned Breece Hall, if he can be healthy, they have to have a balanced attack, I think. Mm-hmm. And that defense is going to have to be really good. If they're relying on Aaron Rodgers to just sling the ball and throw for 5,000 yards a game, that's not going to get it done. But from an X and O standpoint, Eman, are they going to win based on is it going to be the offense that carries them, or is it going to be the defense?
I think it's going to be, they're not going to ask for Aaron Rodgers to do too much because if you think about it, right, apart from Breece Hall, look at the backup running backs, right? Xander Knight, I forget who the other one is. I don't know if they kept, what's his name, the guy they traded for.
Oh God,
I forget. But I mean, they do have two. They have two. Yeah. Michael Carter's still there. They still have two good running backs behind them. they're going to play well with Aaron Rodgers, and then that's also to relieve Brees so he could not be the workhorse. So they have a well balanced attack. I mean, Garrett Wilson, Lazard, and everybody else they have at the wide receiver. They are, and even tight end. They do. I mean, Conklin. They have Ozuma. They have a lot of good weapons when you look on paper.
They do.
They have Randall Cobb.
Well, yeah. Randall Cobb is there for the water passing, bro. You know what I mean? He's carrying the suitcases, all right. But he's there for motivational support here. But yeah, no, I think it's going to be a combination of both. It's going to be one of the things that the defense is going to benefit from that offense, and the offense is going to benefit from the defense. So it's going to be one of those give and take kind of thing. Unlike last year, that the only reason why they won it was that defense just being such a great defense, they just could not stay off the field the rest as long.
So let's Gary, and then back to you, man. How many wins are we going to say? Gary, you're sticking with 12 and 5?
12-5, lost in the divisional round.
Okay. I'll go with 11.
I'll bet you. Okay, you're going to go 11?
I'll go 11.
I will bet each of you $1 that they're going to go 9 and 8.
Wow.
I will bet you a whole $1. I just don't. Wow. I just really, there's just something. It's off of a gut feeling. Again, this is only June. Something could happen. Mm-hmm. But Gary made some very good points, and he had a very bad season last year. And he started playing better towards the second half, but I really think that age for him is going to be a factor. We think that everyone's going to be a Tom Brady. He ain't no Tom Brady. Age 40, I just think Father Time's undefeated, and I just think that there's going to be a huge drop-off. That's just my opinion. But sorry, Jets fans. But let's talk about your favorite team, Gary, these Giants. So by the numbers, and this is all going to come in, and I'll throw it to you, man. Daniel Jones had 3,205 passing yards. Saquon Barkley had 1,312. The leading guy was Darius Slayton with 724 yards. Points per game, 15. Points against per game, 17. Total yards per game, 18. Yards allowed per game, they were 26. Turnovers per game, they were second, which is not bad. And takeaways per game, they were 29. With the whole Saquon Barkley situation, they made it the way they did, not because of Daniel Jones, because of Saquon, and Saquon literally carried that team on his back. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, look, Saquon's got to get signed, by the way. You got until July 17th. That's going to happen. This is just a matter of its negotiations. The Giants would be the dumbest team in the league if they want to play chicken with Saquon. And Saquon is actually a quality dude in real life. You know what I mean? He's one of those guys that you cannot avoid but to love the kid because he says everything right, great on and off the field, right? And but they'll be stupid not to because, yes, he was their best offensive weapon. He was his best offensive weapon. He's the reason why Daniel Jones was able to rush for 700 yards as well and score 7 touchdowns, right? This offense was built for the skill set of Daniel Jones and Daniel Jones can throw it. He just didn't have anybody to throw it deep. He didn't have anybody to throw it short. He didn't have anybody else receiver-wise, right? That's where Darren Wallace comes in, which is, I think it's a good risk. You gave up a 3rd-round pick. If Darren is healthy, he's the best wide receiver for the New York Giants, which puts another layer into that offense, right? Because they're going to try to run the same thing again. However, I don't think we're still deep enough where we need to be in regards to, we need another wide receiver. I mean, I like Shep is great coming back. He's a security blanket, but look, we have a bunch of 4s and 3s in that, as wide receivers. Darren Waller, if he's healthy, he's your number 1 receiver. All right. He is like your number 1 receiver right now off the bat because of everything that he could do. And of course, Daniel Jones is loving him in OTAs, right? And this training right now that they're doing, right? They love, of course, because he's the most gifted guy he's ever thrown the ball to right now. In the 4 years he's been there, who else? So I honestly think that, Saquon's got to get signed. I don't think everybody is set up this high. And Gary, correct me if I'm wrong, because we had such an unexpected success last year. We over-exceeded the expectations by 100. All right. I knew we were going to have probably a better season with a healthier Saquon, but a 2nd-round win, getting to the 2nd round of the playoffs, and we beat a really good Minnesota team, which I was confident we were. We looked good. Danny Dimes played probably the best game of the season. We see what Danny Dimes can do in a good offense that's tailor-made for him. That's why I love Brian Daboll. But you cannot win if you don't have a guy that can go up for those 50-50 balls and a stud. That's why I hope we could pull a rabbit out of a hat and be the unexpected individual that grabs DeAndre. That would solidify DeAndre at this age and this level is still better than any wide receiver the
Better than
Giants have right now, not counting your tight end. All right, and
He's
better than
only
anyone,
31.
anyone who he's Daniel Jones ever thrown to.
He's only 31. Everyone's
Yeah,
acting
but
like
he's had some injuries. And
Yeah, he's had some injuries.
Yeah.
But I mean, the man's only 31. The man
Yeah.
still has a good, at least 3 years tops at minimum. Even if he's not having elite wide receiver one
absolutely.
status, even at a bottom like 1A, he's still a hell of a player. But Garrett, your thoughts?
We overachieved like a mother last season.
Yeah, bro.
I just want to say that. Just be like, I don't want to be Debbie Downer or anything like that, but like, let's be very clear about this. Nobody, and not even I am as ardent of a Giant fan. I'm as diehard as it gets. Jeff, what I asked for last season?
6 wins.
I bet the 7. All right, I bet 7 wins is my beginning of the year.
Over the course of the last 91 episodes, I think I've said it at least 18 or 19 times now. That's all I asked for this past season was 6 wins. I wanted marked improvement from what I've seen the last few years, and I got marked improvement from the last few years. And frankly, like, I couldn't be happier. But I also was happy in 2016 when we went 11-5, and oh hey, we're looking all right, and Eli's not dead yet. No, we're gonna be okay. And we go 4-12 or 3-13 the next season.
Yeah.
And Ben McAdoo had to leave. So like
Ben McAdoo.
Yes. So there's a level of me that's like, we spoke about cautious optimism. This is where my cautious optimism is right here, because I'm like, okay, we played the schedule that we had in front of us. We were gifted a crap schedule because we played like crap the season before. So there's a lot of that. Like, we have to also look at the whole picture. Look at, like, we had a 3rd place schedule because we finished in 3rd place the season before. So you're going to do one of 2 things. You're either going to fall backwards or you're going to go forward. So fortunately, they fell forward, and Philly was the juggernaut that they were. Yep. But I was telling Jeff, during at one point when they were 6-1, I'm like, there's a distinct chance with how the season was playing out at that point that they were going to go into the Thanksgiving game against Dallas at 9-1, and I'm like, that seems like a fever dream of any Giant fan ever. So, for them to finish how they finished, for them to make the playoffs, I will say this about Minnesota till the day that they actually win something. They were the most fugazi 13-4 team in history. So the Giants beating them was not an upset. That was an even match. That was very much like the Knicks and the Cavs in the NBA. That was actually a real even matchup, and the Giants happened to just get them at home at Minnesota. So, like, we look at all those things. You're right. We have to get somebody. We have to get DeAndre Hopkins. We have to get Daniel Jones more weapons. We also have to take away the ball a little bit more. Like, we can't be 29th in the league in defense and have the fewest interceptions. Speaking of Daniel Jones, I know we said you had no weapons, but bro, 15 touchdowns and 5 interceptions ain't going to do it. Like, that 15-5 is again, I like to use the word fugazi, but I'm like, no, that was lightning in a bottle. That's we caught that one time. That's not going to fly again, because now you've been exposed. You've had a whole season of, okay, he's actually better than we think. He's just had terrible coaching the last few years. So, the pressure's on. The schedule that they have now is indicative of that.
Oof. And speaking of the schedules, I'm just going to call a couple of games here. And they already have Vegas favorites, which is weird to me. They got, obviously, the Cowboys week 1. Dallas is a favorite by 3.
Like always.
They got the Cardinals.
Always, bro.
Why must we always start in that? Like,
I know, man.
Like, last season was a nice anomaly, but like, just every year.
Dude, every year.
My birth, we started the season in friggin' Dallas.
Yeah, then you're favored by 4 against the Cardinals in week 2. Then the 49ers are 5.5-point favorite at 49ers. Then you're favored against the Seahawks, but that could go up and that's a toss up. Then you got Miami. Then you got the Bills. The Bills are 7 point favorite right now. Again, that's just right now.
Mhm.
I see you guys potentially only having 2 wins to start off in your first 5 or 6. I mean, you got the Jets after the Commanders. Commanders could be a win, and then you guys could legitimately go like 2-6 to start the season. And I'm not even trying to say that to. I mean, that's a rough start to your schedule there, E-man.
Look, I mean, and echoing on Gary, right? That 15-5, by the way, was tailor made because that's what they wanted him to do. You know, they're not gonna. They say, listen, you're not gonna force the ball. You're not. You only got to take your shots when they're there. I mean, when they're really, really there, because you're not gonna have a lot of shots to take downfield.
Right.
And that's where Waller comes in this year, right? But it's still, I don't think that our team is that vertical, right? We still just a little bit better if, of course, if Waller doesn't get hurt, Shep comes back, a shade of himself because he's not like a super. He's number 3 again. Who do we drafted from Tennessee? Like the kid, great speed, great separation, but that's all he does. All right, which we needed because we didn't have anybody doing that. I forget the wide receiver from Tennessee. He's great separation, great speed, but he's not a guy that's going to give you. You got to give him 9 targets a game, all right, or 7 targets a game. It's got to be. He's a one-trick pony. You need it. You need a guy like that in every lineup. When you usually have a DK Metcalf, when you usually have a DeAndre Hopkins, right? When you usually have studs like that, man. Devontae Adams. You always have a separation guy, and you got your stud. We don't have our stud, so yes, everybody's going to be onto it. It's going to be another great coaching job by that Giants coaching team there because you're going to have to figure out how to make Daniel Jones again with what you have successful with very limited weapons. And the fact that they're going to know that, shoot, they're going to play action and Jones is going to run for 5 yards and pick up the first down or score a touchdown or that kind of stuff. Because that's what they did a lot last year, right? Saquon. Hey, it's 3rd and 2. Here go Jones, bootleg. Hey, he's going to run it because, he has decent speed, that kind of crap. Or a quick dump of somewhere.
Right.
They know that already. We ran that down. That was our bread and butter. We ran that down to people's throat over and over it again last year. This is the NFL. They're going to be up there. They're on that.
Yeah, and Gary, you guys got really lucky with a lot of those close score games.
Yeah.
And this year is going to be crowding the box, 8 men in the box, forcing Daniel Jones to throw.
Yep.
And the thing that's really scary is that forcing him to be more of a passer and forcing them to play defenses in single coverage when you don't really have that type of stud receivers. That's y'all gonna struggle a little bit to score points, Gary.
No, like you said, like we need to have our weapons better established. Sterling Shepard, he on paper would be a number 1, but that's on paper. His body is not held up long enough for him to show that he can be a number 1. And like I said, you have Darren Waller. Listen, yes, he's going to be your number 1 as far as weapons goes, but he's also an older tight end. Like it, not everybody's a Gronk.
No,
not everybody's a Tony Gonzalez. Not
Kelsey.
Not everybody's a Kelsey. Not everybody's an Antonio Gates who has just this ridiculously long career as a tight end. Like, not everybody's going to hit that, and I don't think that Darren Waller. He's good. Don't get me wrong, but that's about it.
Yeah,
so, there has to be. If we don't establish or we don't get a DeAndre Hopkins or make a trade during the season for somebody, it's going to be a long year, and for Giants fans to be happy about that.
So because I want to get to some Yankees and Mets here. That's going to be fun. So, E-Man, how many wins for your Giants and then you, Gary?
Oh, man. 10.
All right, I'll bet you 50 cents on that.
Yeah.
Gary?
Being optimistic.
I'm gonna say 9 and 8.
Okay.
I'm good, but it's gonna be a lot of 1-score games in that 9. Like they're going to. It's gonna be a lot of coaching them through wins. Like I said, I believe in Brian Daboll as a coach. I think
me too.
He coached his ass off last season. There's a reason why he won Coach of the Year. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't because of the records. Because clearly you saw that effort. You saw a different change, a whole change in effort, which Giants fans could tell. It was tangible. It was palpable. Like, this is a man who week 1 was like, no, screw this. We're going for it right now. We're going for the win. In any other season, we would have gone for overtime, and then, hey, we would have lost it overtime. No, well, there you go. Here we go again. Daboll is showing, like, he has the cojones to do it. We need to follow suit and show, like, as a team that we trust our coach and that we're going to go run through a wall for this man like many of these other great coaches have their players doing.
Okay.
Change the
Hey,
culture. So
Yes.
no doubt, no doubt. It's going to be very exciting. The Giants, I think, are going to be a team that I'm closely going to be watching. But football season's right around the corner, guys.
Yep.
Training camp starts in what, five and a half weeks?
Yep.
I'm excited. Man, I can't wait. I cannot wait. Can't wait to see my Broncos go 4-13, man. It's going to be great. Anyway, we'll see what happens. The state of these New York Mets. Got to run it down by the numbers here. Runs per game, 18th. Batting average, 20th. Batting a whopping 240. 17th on on-base percentage. 19th in slugging. 21st in hits per game. Well, 7th in home runs. That's great. Stolen bases, 8th. But ERA, 25th. And errors, 13th. Specifically, E-Man, batting average, runs per game, and ERA, they're at the bottom half of the league with the highest payroll in baseball. Talk to me, buddy, because these Mets have been 1-9 in their last 10 games.
We waxed that ass last night on the comeback, so that's good. I don't know what's going on today. I haven't looked at the score, but I know we started a little later.
We're up 3-1 in the top of the
second. 3-1.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, I know we started late. There was a delay of game and stuff like that. By the way, I got the Yankees today. I picked the Yankees on my money line on my one of my
good stuff.
picks.
I can't go home. Nice.
Yeah, exactly. But here's the thing with the Mets, right? That's what happens when you invest all your money on your top 2 pitchers who's 40 years old and 39, regardless of how great of a Hall of Fame career they have. That's one of the reasons why they're in this position, right? Verlander is, starting off not on the right way here. Scherzer is up and down, depending on what it is. Those are your top 2 guys, all right? Of course, your offense is not there. You're battling the injuries. 31 and 36 in 4th place in the National League East was not what they hoped for. And you kind of knew it was going to be a dumpster fire season when your closers got hurt in the World Baseball Classic celebrating and tears his ACL or whatever the hell it was. All right, just jumping up and down because they beat a team. That's kind of if you're a Mets fan, which I'm not, but I root for them every once in a while when
right.
for whatever reason. There's other teams that I hate more. But look, they you knew it was going to be a bad season. And what's nuts is that it could be worse for the Mets, right? And I'm going to give you some scenarios, right? Because I want to this is the Mets. I like to throw some humor at the Mets. You always got to pick on the Mets. They're still the redheaded stepchild of the New York baseball scene in New York. So, but think about this, right? It could be a lot worse. And when people wait, what do you mean? Jacob deGrom is out for the season with Texas, right? Free agent loss. Noah Syndergaard has one of the worst ERA through 50 innings. All right, in the National League at 7.16. Steven Matz and Carlos Correa could have also been Mets this year. All right. Look at Carlos Correa with all the drama that happened. The dude is batting what, 213 right now? 217 for 8 homers while striking out a career high at 24% for plate appearances. So we could have given this guy what, $350 million? That could have been even worse there. Add more, injury to more salt to the wound, right? More insult to injury. Steven Matz, who we let go a couple of years ago, we were probably going to give that guy. He got $41 million from what's his name, from the St. Louis Cardinals, and he's like. He has like one of the worst ERAs, like 0-6, 0-7, was sent to the bullpen. So things are really bad for the Mets right now. And unfortunately, they don't have a way to fix it because all their eggs are in one basket. They don't have enough assets to go ahead and trade for somebody that's going to help them turn around. You say 31 and 36, they're still going to be in it because that division is not the best. And, 85 wins might get them into the wild card, but it's not looking good. And it's hard, when your 2 best pitchers, who are Hall of Famers, by the way, and proven in this league, are 40 and 39. So.
Yeah, and Gary, the reason why I put it in so many good points, and the reason why I wanted to be able to put those numbers is because there's so many issues with this team. Pete Alonso's out now for 3 to 4 weeks. So it's like everything is wrong. They're in the bottom half of every major statistical category, and their payroll is $543 million. Verlander and Scherzer are making $86 million combined in this season. Gary,
somewhere the ghost of George Steinbrenner is smiling from ear to ear. You can't do what George Steinbrenner did in his heyday, which was just throw buku dollars at whoever with the hope of winning a championship. I used to joke and say that the Yankees were the greatest group of adults money can buy, but that was really kind of the truth. Like when you're able to play with that kind of money, you get the best players. Now you're getting the best players from about 5, 6, 7 years ago, but
Mhm.
I'm saying like with Verlander and Scherzer, you know, these were the mistakes that George Steinbrenner made towards the end, going to get the established names, even though that they were older and really more on the back nine of their careers. That was a Steinbrenner move post the World Series runs. Like he kept trying and trying and trying and never really got back to it, and really only got to it in '09. And he wasn't even really running the team at that point. So,
Mhm.
hopefully for Steve Cohen, this is a lesson learned. I know you have the money to spend, but you have to be smart with how you spend it, because look at your team. Like you said, Pete Alonso's out for 3 to 4 weeks. Their lineup is not there. There are no world beaters in that lineup, and then
Mhm.
your rotation is meh. Like it's just there.
Yeah.
Yes, this was not what Steve Cohen wanted, but this is when they say buyer beware. This is what they mean. Like you have to be smart with how you spend. You look at teams like Tampa, who has what at eighth of the Mets payroll for this season, and have the best record in
Yep.
baseball. It's not an accident. They were smart. They used their
Facts.
farm system. They drafted well. Like they actually utilized the draft properly, unlike most major league teams. Like they did this the right way, and if come October they're the ones hoisting the trophy at the end, it won't be a shock.
No, they're
Facts.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's crazy. They were showing in the game, the Yankees game, the top 7 teams in payroll. You had obviously you had the Yankees, you had the
Mhm.
Mets, you had the Angels,
The Dodgers.
you had the
God.
the Dodgers, the Phillies. 2 out of those 7 teams is right now, as of right now, are positioned to make the playoffs in the wild card. None of them are leading their division. Like
No,
this. Go ahead. Go ahead,
no,
Eamon.
go ahead. Finish your
No, I'm
statement.
just saying, like, when
Yeah.
it comes to baseball, it's not about swinging it out the damn ballpark. It's about getting on base. It's about getting outs. That's what the Rays do. They get outs. They get on base. They play slow, methodical baseball, and they get outs. But man, real quick, and then we'll get to the Yankees.
No, they've been doing that since their first World Series run in 2000 and what 5 or 6, I forget what it was.
2008.
2008. Yeah, I was in Tampa actually for a trade. I moved out of New York about 18 years ago. I can't. I don't like the cold, guys. I'll be honest with you, man. I grew up there.
So I'm moving back to Arizona.
Dude, I love Florida, man. I mean, shit. I could root for my teams. I'm hated here because it's a rival city in basketball. So,
Right.
but I remember I was going to Tampa a lot for work, and I'm in Miami. So I remember watching. Every bar was packed. Everybody was happy. But that team was the same way they drafted then and play that style of baseball. The same style of baseball they're playing 20 years later. Like almost
Right.
20 years later, right? Small
Right.
ball, good pitching, move the runners. They're not relying on the long ball like every other team wants to do. That's how they load up, right? They load up with a lot of home run hitters and all that crap in today's game, but they stick to what got the Yankees 5 straight championships, right?
Yeah.
That kind of 4
Facts.
straight championships. That kind of stuff, man. When players got on scoring position, you drove them in.
Facts.
So,
Facts. Let's wrap up with these Yankees, man, because the Yankees. You know, I mean, I could sit here and break down the stats for this one, but we watched the Yankees, so
yeah.
there's no need for me to restate those. If I had to say the state of the Yankees, I have to say injury flux,
Hmm.
the injuries, because Carlos Rendon, we knew that was going to happen. Luis Severino hasn't pitched hasn't had 28 starts or more since 2019.
Hmm.
Anthony Volpe, I think, needs to go back down to the minors. There kind of comes a point where you have to start to question that. There's so many different places to go, but I want to first ask you guys a question. Anthony Volpe, does he stay up or does he go down? E-man.
You know, I see the potential. I'm one of those people that because you see some games that he struggles. He has a good glove, right? He's fast in the pads. He's struggling with hitting the ball. Two something he's hitting like 217, 2 something. But there was a game that he might hit a home run. I do see shades of the kid, that the potential of him, and the only way he's got to get better is by getting at bats in the major league level. So at least for the remainder of this year, unless he goes Mendoza line for the next 50 games, yeah, then you bring him down. But if he stays what he's doing right now, the only way he's got to improve is by keep giving him at bats. Remember, and of course, I'm not comparing him to Jeter, because everybody throws that in there. Where Jeter struggled a lot in the first half of the season. Jeter won that Rookie of the Year. I mean, he wasn't batting 217, but he was like 230, 240, 250. He did not get hot and hit 300 in the second half of the season, which drove his average to like 290, I think, or something like that. And it was because of the second half of the season. And he was making errors like crazy, right? He was like all over the place. But I think having the at-bats, the team getting better together, getting used to the speed of the game and this level, I think it definitely benefits Jeter. And I don't think this kid's going to win the Rookie of the Year, but I think if he keeps showing minimal improvement, I think this is what you want to see, minimal improvement. If he goes downhill, then yeah, you have to make a move and put somebody else that's going to get you better performance. But I think he's doing enough to stay and earn the opportunity to keep getting at bats so he can keep improving. That's my take on bullpen. I like it.
Respect. Yeah, I respect it. Gary, your thoughts on the stat that you have?
No, I couldn't have said better myself. I think, Hal Steinbrenner's come out there and said it. This isn't going to be like you're going to be up here for a little while, then we'll send you back down. The best trial by fire is going to be the way that this kid's going to learn how to play this game. And he's, it's going to be one of those, either he's going to sink or he's going to swim.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's shown enough that he's probably going to end up being a decent swimmer. I don't know. You can't compare him to Jeter. That's not fair. And, he has to establish his own legacy and who he is as a person, as a player. So I think as long as Yankee fans, we get that out of our heads and let him just develop and let him be who he is, I think there will be a place for him on this lineup. He may not be the face of the franchise. Clearly, that's Aaron Judge at this point. But, he's going to be – he can be – who would I compare him to? Almost a Chuck Knobloch type.
Yeah, he could do that. I mean, I think
I like that.
Has those moments,
mm-hmm.
but it's not like I look back and go, "Oh, I need to go get my Chuck Knobloch jersey." I'm not
exactly.
I'm not there with him on that yet. Maybe I would love to be wrong. I would love to get to the point where I'm getting my kids Anthony Volpe jerseys. Like I really want to go
mm-hmm.
and get to that point, but. Much like every other thing that we've talked about, Yankee-wise, sports-wise for New York, cautious optimism. I think that there is clearly is room for growth, and I think that as long as he keeps working at it, he's going to get there. Now, the interesting stat that I had: the Yankees, if this holds up, will end up with if this win holds up, they'll be 40-29. 1, 2, 3 other divisions, they'd be leading the division.
Yep.
But in the AL East, they're in third, no matter
mm-hmm.
what they do after this night's over with. And that right there is telling of how strong the AL East is and how much of a dogfight that is.
Mm-hmm.
And B, parity is real in sports, and now it's real. It's kind of crept its way through football. It's crept its way through hockey. You saw an AC kind of make the Stanley Cup Finals there. You saw it in the NBA this season, especially in the West, where nobody really stood out other than Denver, which, surprise, surprise, how that season ended. And now you're seeing in baseball, everybody's just a little bit, except for the Dodgers, the Braves, and Rays. Everybody's kind of creeping around that 500 mark. And, for the Yankees and for the Orioles, who, let me say on the side, the Orioles fans, this isn't going to last.
No.
Sorry, I don't want to disrespect you all. I love Baltimore. I love the city of Baltimore.
Hometown. Come on
let's see how you're doing in August before you sit there and try to shit on us. So
it's a long season, bro.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
It's a long season.
And no doubt. And let's not forget about the Nationals back in 2019, or the most recent example. They were completely out of it and went on a ridiculous run and won the freaking World Series. The Yankees had the best record in baseball at one point and almost gave up the division. So it's almost better that they're not peaking yet. And I still think that the Rays, their pitching staff, has been obliterated with injuries. That's gonna play into it. That's just gonna play. I don't see Zach Eflin being a freaking Cy Young candidate in September. I don't see it. But E-Man, high level thoughts. What are your thoughts on the Yankees? Can they make it back? Can they make a run? Just your overall thoughts about the Yankees. Then you, Gary, and then we'll conclude.
So first and foremost, they are going to be making trades. All right. We do have holes. We have injuries that we need to plug those holes with. Right now, big X factor. We got to go back to pitching, right? Gerrit Cole is your horse. Rondon is your number 2 guy. That's going to be a huge factor of how he comes back from injury. I mean, this guy last year, 14-8, strikes up. He strikes out. He's a guy that gets a lot of strikeouts, right? 2.88 ERA. We got him such a great freaking contract. We could get this guy, man, 15 starts, man, at least for the second half of the season. I mean, he's got to start throwing live. He's throwing live batting practice now. It's like May. They're saying they want soon he'll be throwing, rehab sessions in the minor leagues, which is all good things. I don't know. Honestly, they haven't even told us when he's eventually going to be called up, right? There's still a lot of question marks. But if he keeps up, if he comes back in and he's a shade of what he had last year with Gerrit Cole, Nestor is going to give you Nestor innings, right? He's not as good as he was last year, but he's going to be out there and he's going to be one of those guys who's going to give you the innings. He's going to battle. Severino, hit or miss right now, just like the rest of the. I mean, Domingo Germán, I'm actually very shocked, right? Another guy that's giving you 4 innings, 4 wins, 4-4. So we know what our bullpen is going to give us. They've been our shining star. But then when it comes to the offensive side, Judge needs to be healthy. Stanton needs to play, which, surprise, surprise, he barely played this year. Like you said, Volpe needs to improve and the rest of the guys. But there's some trades that we could make that definitely can give us that edge, right, to take us through the rest of the year, because we're going to have these holes, right? We're going to have these other injuries that's going to happen. The 10-day DL shit comes up over and over again throughout the season. And there's 2 guys I'm going to give you what I think the Yankees should target, because not only they may be available because of their contract and the salary cap, whatever the case may be, but we do have a hole in the outfield, right? Aaron Hicks, peace out. Mr. Isaiah Kiner Falafa experiment is failing horrible. That's not it. So you got guys like Randall Grichuk. He's from Colorado Rockies, right? He's a guy that 316. He missed the first month of the season, 1 home run, 14 RBIs. He's not getting a lot of plates, but this is a guy that can plug one of those holes in the outfield, can be a productive hitter for us, can get a lot of playing time. He's a veteran, contract friendly. He's one of the guys that they're probably going to part ways. There's not a lot available out there for a lot of teams to go after, and we need to focus on I think more on that part. We need to kind of plug that hole. Another guy that it looks like if that team keeps heading the way that they're going, and he's going to be available, is Jock Peterson. Jock Peterson from the Giants. He missed some time earlier this season, but 287 home runs, 24 RBIs. Look, this guy killed it when he was at the World Series a couple of years ago with the with the Dodgers. He's postseason proven. With the Giants, he was an All-Star last year, 23 home runs. So these are guys that will help us kind of like maintain close with Baltimore and the Rays while we go through injuries and while we go through the long grind of the season. So we have holes in the outfield that these 2 guys can definitely plug in one of the other. And I think that's just where we go. I mean, it all depends on how good Rondon comes back. Pitching needs to get better, and we need the health factor back on again. And to beat 39-29, echoing Gary's point there, we are pretty damn lucky to be at this point. If you look at the lineup that's out there today, all right,
ain't scaring no one.
That's sometimes we're like, okay, we got all this money, we got all these players, we're struggling, but unlike last year where everybody was booming and we were killing it, this year we've had a lot of more hurdles than we did last year. And dude, we're in it. We're at one point, the Rays, like you said, I don't think starting pitching, their injuries, that's gonna take a toll. And Baltimore is Baltimore,
And Judge comes back, this lineup is completely different.
Judge was on fire before he got injured. Boy, he came back from that, it was on fire. And look at it, he gets hurt again. It's gonna be a complete 180. So
definitely looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing it. Gary, your thoughts?
No, I mean, I can't, again, even, laid it all out there perfectly. Once everybody gets healthy, I'd love to see what this team's going to look like post All-Star break, because I think that's really where the test is going to begin for them. And, can Tampa keep this hot run going? Like I said, Baltimore, how long is this going to last? And, even then, they don't need to win the division. They just need to get in. You look at Atlanta's the best example of that, best recent example of that. All they need to do is get in. They went on the run they went on. They ended up placing the trophy at the end of the year. So for really, like I said, the Yankees, the sky can be the limit, but there are going to be trades that are needed. And, they just have to be smart, because you can't as much as we want to win now and we're starved for a championship, we can't sacrifice the farm system like other teams because there's just been we've waited a really long time to have a good farm system. Let's keep it that way.
We depleted the
Right.
farm system when we pay for it, and now
Depleted.
we're trying to get it back to what we need to. And I think it's a right combination of bringing your guys back up, sign them where they become free agents, and then just start doing moves that make sense, right? Not only from a asset standpoint where you get to keep some players still, but also individuals like in the '90s, right? When we traded for somebody, man, it was a good role player that all of a sudden came in and he plugged that hole that we needed to and give us that extra push, whether a pitcher,
No doubt.
whether it was an outfielder, was another catcher, whatever the case may be. But we never sacrificed our farm team. We started doing that much later.
No doubt. No doubt. Gentlemen, E-Man, thanks for coming back on, man. As per usual, would you like to give a shout out to what you do, your projects, your Twitter sphere, your show, and all that? You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, brother. Thanks for having me. It's always a great time, chopping it up with you guys, man. It's always a really good time, and I appreciate the invite and love coming over to your show. Again, the best way to find me is on Twitter, Joe's_talk. Hit the link tree in my bio where you're going to see where I'm available. I'm available pretty much on every platform. Video wise, I do a live stream once a week, kind of move it around. And I'm also kind of, I'll throw some, reaction episodes here and there. Check out my YouTube channel. I do a little more. I do a lot of shorts as well, just cool videos and stuff like that, and just segments of my show, and just trying to give out as much content at times allowed through different various avenues and ways to keep viewers and listeners plugged in and entertained. So
All right. Awesome. No doubt. No doubt. Gary Legend, thanks for coming on. As we're saying, guys, we'll continue to be doing this series probably every Wednesday moving forward, where we will be doing a state of a city. Maybe next week we do state of Chicago. Who knows? But that's it for episode 91. Peace and love, everyone. Thank you, guys, and have a great day.
peace.